Chapter 30. Locks. Lauren didn't know how long she had. She stepped out into the corridor and was pleased to find it empty, but less pleased by the CCTV cameras staring at her from both ends. Even if the commotion hadn't been heard, it was only a matter of time before she got picked up by security. "You okay?" she shouted as she stared at the hefty bolt and padlock across the door of Anna's room. "What was that noise?" Anna asked from the other side. "Stabbed Keith," Lauren explained. "Stand away from the door." The lock looked sturdy, but any security system is only as strong as its weakest link, and the door itself was flimsy. Lauren grabbed each side of the doorframe of her own room and used it as leverage to launch an explosive two-footed kick across the corridor. She had trainers on, but the force still hurt the balls of her feet as the flimsy wooden walls on both sides of the corridor wobbled. The lock held in place, but a gap had been torn between the door and the chipboard in which it was mounted. Lauren's second kick knocked the hinged side of the door further inwards. It wasn't a huge gap, but enough for Anna's skinny body to wriggle through. Anna was shocked to see Lauren with blood-smeared clothing and a heavy padlock in her hand. As they jogged down the corridor, the bouncer they'd seen at reception on the way in appeared at the far end. 3 startled girls and 1 middle-aged man had stepped out of their rooms to see why the walls had been shaking. Anna looked back for an alternative exit, but Lauren hid the padlock behind her back and strode on towards the bouncer. His scruffy grey suit bulged with muscle, and Lauren guessed she was up against someone who was ex-military or maybe a retired boxer. Even with some of the best combat training in the world under her belt, Lauren would only get 1 shot at a surprise attack. "Where'd you think you're going, missy?" the bouncer grinned as he pointed back along the corridor. "Get back in that room before I clock you one." Lauren waited until they were less than a metre apart before swinging the heavy padlock. A couple of the girls screamed as metal hit bone, making a sickening thunk and tearing a bloody gash in the bouncer's cheek. As he stumbled forward in a daze, Lauren hit him with a brutal roundhouse kick to the ribs, followed by a knee in the guts and a knockout blow with the padlock. "We're all getting out of here," Lauren shouted, and set off for the staircase, armed only with the padlock and terrified of finding herself on the wrong end of a gun. Anna kept close as they crept down the stairs, while 4 slightly older girls trailed nervously. Lauren peered around the bottom of the staircase into the reception area. The sofas where the girls sat waiting for customers were out of sight, but she could see the receptionist, the bouncer's empty armchair, and Keith's coat hanging tantalizingly from the rack. "See the coats?" Lauren whispered. Anna nodded. "I'll go first. You run across and search the brown jacket. It's Keith's. He had a gun with him earlier." Lauren raced out into the room, much to the surprise of the receptionist, who leapt out of her seat and pointed towards the staircase. "You'd better get back upstairs before you find yourself in a lot of trouble," the receptionist barked. The girls on the sofa went quiet and stopped looking bored. But Lauren was furious to see that Anna had bottled it and stood limply at the bottom of the staircase. "For God's sake!" Lauren yelled, looking at Anna and pointing at the coat rack. The receptionist had stepped out from behind her desk and tried to grab Lauren's arm. Lauren snatched the woman's bony wrist, twisted her into an arm lock, and banged her head against the desk, before smacking her around the side of the head with the metal face of the padlock. "Stay down or you'll get another one," Lauren shouted menacingly. Then she turned her fury on Anna. "What's the matter with you? You're bloody useless." There was now a bunch of younger girls at the bottom of the stairs, and the older ones who were on public display were getting off the sofas. As they all started chattering nervously in Russian, bad English, and other languages that Lauren couldn't understand, she made her own way towards the coat rack. But the main door burst open before she got there. Roman came in first, followed by Abby holding the can of pepper spray. "Get back to your rooms," Abby ordered, with her thumb clutching the trigger on the canister. Lauren dropped behind the receptionist's desk. The other girls didn't seem to grasp what was in the canister, so Abby demonstrated with a quick squirt into the face of one of the older girls. She began screaming, and a flurry of young legs bolted up the staircase. "If this doesn't stop now, I'll get Kenneth and a couple of his lads out here," Abby shouted. Whoever Kenneth was, the mention of his name was enough to have the girls back on the sofa. Anna had disappeared back upstairs, but Lauren had crawled as far as the chromed base of the coat rack and was relieved to see the handle of Keith's gun inside his jacket. "The revolution is over," Roman smiled. "Get your asses back to work." "The ringleader's over there," the receptionist said as she staggered up, with her hand covering a small cut where the padlock had struck her temple. Lauren only had a second to grab the gun. As she shot up from the sticky carpet, Abby swung around and squeezed the cap on the pepper spray. The gooey liquid came through the air like snake venom. Lauren tried hiding her head behind a woman's coat, but it hit the side of her face as her fingers gripped the stock of Keith's revolver. Lauren felt like her face was on fire. With one eye closed, the other streaming, and the intense odor of pepper spray searing inside her mouth and the back of her throat. Her vision blurred as she aimed the gun towards the ceiling and blasted a warning shot. "Put the spray down and open the door," Lauren said, trying to sound more assertive than she felt. She heard some of the other girls, who'd crept back to the bottom of the stairs to investigate the gunshot. The gun felt heavy. Lauren was seeing smears and fighting for breath, but she was less than 3 meters from Abby and Roman, and you don't need good eyesight to shoot someone from that distance. Abby dropped the pepper spray. "Now open the door," Lauren said, "and anyone who wants to follow me out is welcome." Roman stared at Abby for confirmation before stepping backwards and opening the door. Lauren searched desperately for Anna, but all she could see were colours and blurry shapes. She realised that there were 5 or 6 girls running with her as she felt her way down the hallway towards Abby's office, gun in hand. "Anna?" Lauren yelled. "Your friend went back upstairs," a girl not much bigger than Lauren said, in broken English. "Not going back," Lauren gasped as she pointed inside the office. "Can you see a phone?" "On the desk." "Dial for me," Lauren said. Then she realised that the other girls were standing in the doorway, awaiting instructions. "Downstairs," she shouted. "There's a room with bottles. Run through there, jump over the bar, and run out onto the street." As 6 teenaged girls clattered down the metal staircase in mules and cheap dressing gowns, Lauren told her remaining companion to pick up the phone and gave her the digits of John Jones's mobile number. Lauren screamed into the receiver. "Where are you?" "We're coming in within 5 to 10 minutes, John said. "But the cops are nervous about storming a building this size without proper reconnaissance or knowing what kind of weapons they're up against." "Only one gun that I know of, and I'm holding it," Lauren said. "There should be girls coming out through the bar at the front any second." "We'll grab them." "Your voice sounds terrible. Are you okay?" "Pepper spray," Lauren explained. "Mostly on one side." The blurry girl who was helping Lauren spoke anxiously. "Abby and the others are coming." Lauren yelled into the phone. John, the rats are leaving the sinking ship. You've got to stop them getting out. Are you sure they're not armed? Pretty sure, Lauren said, as she waved her companion towards the staircase. Okay, keep safe, John said. We've got cops on all sides of the building. I expect they'll try getting out of the back gates in a car, Lauren said. John yelled to someone standing close to him. Get a vehicle parked across the back gates. Lauren realised that her companion had fled. She clutched the gun as blurry figures passed by in the corridor outside. The big red blur looked like Abby. But whoever it was, they weren't interested in Lauren, just in getting away. Girls coming out of the bar now, John shouted. Cops are on their way in. You'd better get some ambulances, Lauren said. I knocked one guy cold and stabbed another. He might even be dead. As Lauren said this, she heard the pounding music stop in the bar downstairs. The replacement noises were screams and the sound of boots racing up the metal stairs. Put the gun down, a woman shouted. Lauren rested the gun on the desk and the smeary black figure unbuckled her riot helmet as she stepped towards her. Lauren's eyes still stung like hell, but her vision was improving. There are more girls down there through the white door, Lauren said. I think the staff all ran off. You heard her, the cop shouted, as she waved half a dozen colleagues by. Lauren realised that she still had John on the phone. Where are you? She shouted. With you in a flash, John replied, before hanging up. Half a dozen sirens were now squealing in the streets around the warehouse, and Lauren heard a huge bang as the cops battered down the white door leading into the brothel. You okay? John asked as he stepped by the cop. Can't see much. John had grabbed a bottle of mineral water and some paper towels from the bar on the way up. There's blobs of pepper spray stuck to your top, he said, as he pulled a flick knife out of his pocket. It might get in your eyes if we pull it off, so I'll cut it. Then we can start flushing out the pepper spray. John sliced a V in the neck hole of Lauren's sweatshirt before grabbing the two sides and tearing it down. Lauren was relieved to be safe and couldn't resist making a joke. You ought to be careful, she grinned. You should see the state of the last bloke who tried ripping my clothes off.